at a freight car. There are more than 40 people in the cage, all in their underclothes. From time to time they open the door and grab whoever comes first, out he goes. As you grab a chicken to cut its throat. I swear to God. Some they hang, some they shoot, some they question. They beat you to shreds, they put salt on the wounds, they pour boiling water on you. When you vomit or relieve yourself they make you eat it. As for children and women. Oh God! The unfortunate was at his last gasp. He cried out and died without finishing the sentence. Somehow they all knew it at once and took off their caps and crossed themselves. That night, the news of a far more terrible incident flew around the camp. Pamphil had been in the crowd surrounding the dying man. He had seen him, heard his words, and read the threatening inscription on the board. His constant fear for his family in the event of his own death rose to a new climax. In his imagination he saw them handed over to slow torture, watched their faces distorted by pain, and heard their groans and cries for help. In his desperate anguish, to forestall their future sufferings and to end his own, he killed them himself, felling his wife and 3 children with that same, razor-sharp axe that he had used to carve toys for the 2 small girls and the boy, who had been his favorite. The astonishing thing was that he did not kill himself immediately afterward. What could he be thinking of? What could he look forward to? What intentions could he have, what plans? It was a clear case of insanity, and nothing could save him now. While Librius, the doctor, and the members of the Army Soviet debated what to do with him, he roamed freely about the camp, his head hung low over his chest, his dirty yellow eyes glowering unseeingly. An obtuse vague grimace of inhuman, unconquerable suffering never left his face. No one was sorry for him. Everyone avoided him. Some people said he should be lynched, but they were not heeded. There was nothing in the world left for him to do. At dawn he vanished from the camp, fleeing from himself like a dog with rabies. 9. High winter came with its severe frosts. Torn, seemingly disconnected sounds and shapes rose out of the icy mist, stood still, moved, and vanished. The sun was not the sun to which the earth was used, it was a changeling. Its crimson ball hung in the forest, and from it, stiffly and slowly as in a dream or in a fairy tale, amber-yellow rays of light as thick as honey spread and, catching in the trees, froze to them in midair. Invisible feet in felt boots, touching the ground softly with padded soles, yet making the snow screech angrily at each step, moved in all directions, while the hooded and fur-jacketed torsos belonging to them sailed separately through the upper air, like heavenly bodies. Friends stopped and talked, their faces close together, flushed as at the steam baths, with beards bristling like iced loofahs. Clouds of dense, clammy steam puffed out of their mouths, too large for the clipped, frost-bitten words they accompanied. Walking along the footpath, the doctor ran into Librius. "Hello, stranger. Come to my dugout this evening. Spend the night. We'll have a good talk. There is news. Is the courier back? Any news from Varikino? Not a word about your people or mine." This, however, leads me to the comforting conclusion that they must have got away in time, otherwise we would be sure to have heard something. We'll talk about it tonight. I'll expect you. Going into the dugout that evening, the doctor repeated his question. "What have you heard about our families? Just tell me that. You never want to see further than your nose. So far as I know, they are safe and sound. But the point is that the news is first-rate. Have some cold veal?" "No, thanks. Come on now, don't change the subject." "Are you sure you won't?" "Well, I'll have a bite. Though bread and vegetables are what we really need. There's a lot of scurvy about. We should have gotten more nuts and berries last autumn when the women were there to pick them. Well, as I was saying, our affairs are in excellent shape. What I've always prophesied is coming true. The worst is over. Kolchak's forces are retreating all along the line. It's a complete rout. Now do you see? What did I always tell you? Do you remember how you used to moan? When did I moan? All the time. Especially when we were being pressed by Vitsin. The doctor recalled the autumn, the shooting of the rebels, Pamphil's killing of his wife and children, the whole senseless murderous mess to which there seemed to be no end. White and red atrocities rivaled each other in savagery, outrage breeding outrage. The smell of blood was in his nose and throat, it choked him, it nauseated him, it mounted to his head, it made his eyes swim. That wasn't moaning, that was something entirely different, but how could he explain it to Librius? The dugout was lit by torches made of sticks stuck into a metal holder. They gave off an aromatic smell of charcoal. As a stick burned down, the cinder dropped into a bowl of water standing underneath, and Librius lit a fresh one. See what I have to burn? There's no more oil. And the wood is too dry, it burns too quickly. Sure you won't have some veal? About the scurvy. What are you waiting for to call a staff meeting and give us a lecture on scurvy and the means of dealing with it? Stop tormenting me, for God's sake. What exactly do you know about our people? I've told you. There is nothing certain in the report. But I didn't finish telling you what I've learned from the latest communiques. The civil war is over. Kolchak's forces are smashed. The main part of the Red Army is in pursuit, it is driving him eastward, along the railway, into the sea. Another part of it is hurrying over this way, and we are joining forces to mop up the considerable scattered numbers of whites in the rear. The whole of southern Russia is clear of the enemy. Well, why aren't you glad? Isn't that enough for you? I am glad. But where are our families? Not in Varykino, and that's a very lucky thing. Not that there is any confirmation of that crazy business Kamenodversky told you about. You remember that rumor last summer about mysterious strangers raiding Varykino? I always thought it was nonsense. But the village is deserted. So it looks as if something did happen after all, and it's a very good thing they got out in time, as they evidently did. That is what the few remaining inhabitants think, according to my source. And Yurii? What happened there? Who is holding it? That's another absurdity. It can't possibly be true. What's that? They say the whites are still there, but that's a sheer impossibility. I'll prove it to you, you'll see for yourself. He put another stick in the holder and, getting out a tattered map and folding it so that the district he was talking about was on top, explained the position, pencil in hand. Look. All these are sectors where the whites have been thrown back here and here and here, all over this region. Do you follow? Yes. So they can't possibly be anywhere near Yurii, because if they were, with their communications cut, they couldn't avoid being captured. Even their commanders must realize this. However incompetent they may be. Why are you putting on your coat? Where are you going? I'll be back in a moment. There's a lot of smoke here, and I've got a headache. I'll just go out for a breath of air. When he was outside, the doctor swept the snow off the wooden block that served as a seat at the entrance to the dugout and sat down, his elbows on his knees and his head propped on his fists. The taiga, the camp, his 18 months among the partisans, went right out of his head. He forgot all about them. Memories of his dear ones filled his mind and crowded out all else. He tried to guess their fate, and images rose before him, each more frightening than the last. Here is Tonia walking through a field in a blizzard with Sasha in her arms. She keeps wrapping him up in a blanket, her feet sinking into the deep snow. She can barely drag along. Using all her strength, but the blizzard knocks her down, she stumbles and falls and gets up, too weak to stand on her feet, the wind buffeting her and the snow covering her up. Oh, but he is forgetting. She has 2 children with her, and she nurses the little one. Both her hands are busy, like the fugitives at Chilimka who broke down and went mad with grief and strain. She has both her hands full and there is no one near to help her. Sasha's father has vanished, no one knows where he is. He is away, he has always been away, all his life he has remained apart from them. What kind of father is he? Is it possible for a real father always to be away? And what about her own father? Where is Alexander Alexandrovich? And Nyasha? And the others? Better not ask, better not think about it. The doctor got up and turned to go back into the dugout. Suddenly his thoughts took a different direction and he changed his mind about returning to Librius. Long ago he had cached a pair of skis, a bag of biscuits, and other things he would need if a chance to make his escape should ever come. He had buried them in the snow just outside the camp, at the foot of a tall pine. To make doubly sure of finding it he had marked the tree with a notch. Now he turned and walked along the footpath trodden between the snowdrifts in the direction of his buried treasure. It was a clear night with a full moon. He knew where the sentries were posted and at first avoided them successfully. But when he came to the clearing with the mound and Rowan Tree, a sentry hailed him from a distance, took a run on his skis, and standing straight up on them glided swiftly toward him. "Halt or I shoot! Who are you? Password! What's come over you, man? Don't you know me? I'm the camp doctor, Zhivago." "Sorry, Comrade Zhivago. I didn't recognize you, no offense meant. All the same, Zhivago or not, I'm not letting you go any farther. Orders are orders. As you wish." The password is Red Siberia, and the reply, "Down with the interventionists." "That's better. Go ahead. What are you chasing after at this time of night? Anyone sick?" "I was thirsty and I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd go out for a breath of air and eat some snow. Then I saw the rowan tree with iced berries on it. I want to go and pick a few. If that isn't just like a gentleman's notion. Who's ever heard of picking berries in winter? 3 years we've been beating the nonsense out of you others, but you're still the same. All right, go and pick your berries, you lunatic. What do I care?" And as swiftly as he had come, the sentry took a run, stood straight up on his long skis, and whistled over the untrodden snow into the distance beyond the bare winter shrubs as thin as thinning hair. The footpath brought the doctor to the foot of the rowan tree, whose name he had just spoken. It was half in snow, half in frozen leaves and berries, and it held out 2 white branches toward him. He remembered Lara's strong white arms and seized the branches and pulled them to him. As if in answer, the tree shook snow all over him. He muttered without realizing what he was saying, and completely beside himself. "I'll find you, my beauty, my love, my rowan tree, my own flesh and blood." It was a clear night with a full moon. He made his way farther into the taiga, to the marked tree, unearthed his things, and left the camp.